The NBA championship began with 2 games in the Boston Garden. The Celtics and Dave Cowens handled the Phoenix Suns with such ease that many experts thought the series would end in 4 games. The scene then shifted down to Phoenix, and in Game 3, it got extremely rough in the second quarter. Ricky Sobers, number 40 of the Phoenix Suns, and Kevin Stakem, number 27 of the Boston Celtics, got into a vicious fistfight. Both players were ejected from the contest. After that, it was the Rookie of the Year, Alvin Adams, who took complete command as the amazing Suns scratched and clawed their way back into the playoff. Then it was Game 4 on Wednesday night. Garfield Hurd, with an amazing second effort, put the Suns up by 2. He missed, went back up for the tap, and got it in. Then the Suns had an opportunity to salt it away. Keith Erickson with a miss. Celtics pull it down with 12 seconds to play. They don't want the timeout. They want to set up as quickly as possible. The play is already called. But the Suns have taken away the pass to Dave Cowens. The secondary man is JoJo White. Sobers with a good defensive play. And suddenly, the series is tied. And I think you can hear in the background the noise emanating from the Boston Garden, where the scene has shifted for Game 5 of this NBA championship. Hondo John Havlicek has just been introduced. He will start for the first time in the championship series. He will be at 1 forward along with Silas, Cowens, and of course the 2 guards. And good evening, everybody. I'm Brent Musburger along with Rick Barry. So nice that you can come along and watch this game, and judging from the ratings, an awful lot of you are starting to enjoy this championship series, and we couldn't be happier here at CBS. Rick, what do we expect tonight?
Well, I think tonight you're going to probably see the Phoenix sticking with what they did so well down in Phoenix, winning those 2 ball games. And you saw John Havlicek come out for the Boston Celtics, which shows that Tom Heinsohn is prepared to make some changes. He wants to try to get the ball down deep inside of Dave Cowens and generate more offense for the Boston Celtic big man.
All right, Rick, I'm sure our audience can hear boos in the background. The officials have been very controversial in this series. For more on that, let's go to our colleague, Mendy Rudolph.
After suffering losses on each other's courts, both teams complained bitterly about the officials. In fact, they suggested perhaps that they receive special instructions on how to call the game. Such is not the case, we've been assured by John Nucatola. In fact, I think they've done a heck of a job and will continue to do so. Now, probably Dave Cowens said it better than anybody, and I quote, he said, "Never before in a series has officiating been so emphasized. In fact, they are not the ones who put the ball in the basket, nor are they the ones who commit the turnovers, nor are they the ones who miss last-second shots. The best way," he says, "to win a ball game is to adjust according to the game and to score more points than the opponents." Now let's go to Sunny Hill for more on tonight's ball game.
What is the mood of the ball players? If you're with the Boston Celtics, JoJo White, I'm concerned we have to win the ball games at home. Paul Silas, I have respect for this ball club. Maybe starting out I didn't think that way, but I think that way now. Phoenix Suns, I'm ready. That's what Curtis Curry says, and I believe my team is ready. Confidence, Paul Westphal saying, I'm not overconfident, but I'm confident. But maybe Gar Hurd says it's best. When he told me, he said, "Sonny, I told you early in the series that we could do it, and I still feel we can do it." Let's go to Brent Musburger and Rick Barry.
We are ready for the start of Game 5 from the Boston Garden on this Friday night. The referees, number 26 is Richie Powers, and working with him will be Don Murphy. Both of these 2 officials have worked 1 game each in the championship series. Murphy was one of the officials Wednesday night. As for Richie, he worked earlier Game 2. Alvin Adams, who has played spectacularly well so far against Dave Cowens, they will go to tip it off. If you're looking for something early, watch the Celtics try to feed Dave Cowens. JoJo White misses, and Dave Cowens, with great effort, hustling there from the center jump, put it down on the second chance, and here come the Phoenix Suns. Scott against Sobers. Scott trying hard not to foul out for the first time in this series. He has fouled out of all 4 games, and he has just picked up number 1 in Game 5.
Well, Charlie Scott this time did not get as upset on some of the previous calls that he had. He picked up the foul as there was a double team by Cowens and Scott on the jump shot by Sobers.
The rookie, Las Vegas, Nevada, at the free throw line. Grew up in New York. Attended DeWitt Clinton High School, but did not play any basketball there. 2-1, just underway. Sobers awaits JoJo White. Now Dave Cowens plans to come out much higher and keep Paul Silas at the point. They've been double teaming Cowens. Garfield Hurd has been blocking up that area. There's Silas out away from the basket. They're giving him that shot. And if he continues to hit it, there will have to be a defensive change on the part of the Suns. They have been begging Paul Silas to put it up in this series. Curtis Perry handling the ball back to Ricky Sobers. Havlicek starting for the first game. Curtis Perry on the turnaround right baseline. It is 4-3. You can tell that the Suns' confidence has been growing with each game. Their shooting percentage from 38 to 39 to 44 to 47 over the 4-game span. Silas with his second option when Garfield Hurd backs off. He can drive to the hoop, as he did right there. It's 6-3 Celtics.
That'll cause a lot of problems for the Phoenix Sun defense if Paul Silas becomes more offensive-minded.
Cowens got a hand on the ball, and here come the Celtics. White in control. Celtics running more with Havlicek on the floor. JoJo White drew the first foul from the Phoenix Suns.
JoJo White makes a good move here to get inside. You'll see the play back here coming now on defense. Cowens, good defense, comes over, knocks the ball loose. JoJo picking up the ball, takes it down the floor, and makes a good penetration move. Normally, JoJo likes to pull up and take that 15-foot opportunity jump shot, but it looks as though the Celtics are going to try to get inside the Phoenix Sun defense early in this ball game.
Perhaps the most consistent shooting guard in this series has been JoJo White. Paul Westphal came on, played spectacularly in Game 4 in Phoenix. It's 7-3, Celtics lead. One team foul apiece against Phoenix and Boston. The NBA championship tied 2 games apiece. Curtis Perry turns around on Silas. Shot was high. Garfield Hurd could not save it. Out of bounds, and here come the Celtics. And Rick Barry, you can tell right away that the Celtics are moving much quicker with number 17, John Havlicek, in their starting lineup.
No question about it, Fred. John Havlicek gives them added movement out on the floor. He's a good, smart ball player who knows what to do in the right situation.
And there's Hondo shooting. He had a poor shooting 2 games down in Phoenix, and after that shot, John McLeod has gone to a timeout. And listen to the crowd in the Boston Garden. They watched that crowd from Phoenix on back-to-back games. For the first time that I've been in the Garden this year, the fans are alive. There's passion in the air. We're in for an evening. And there is Irv Levin, the chairman of the Celtics board, along with Red Auerbach. And what a scene it was in the Boston Garden today. Auerbach closing the door of his office, breaking out the movie projector. Private talks with Tommy Heinsohn. Private talks with Paul Silas and JoJo White. They are up for this one.
There's no question about that. And you notice that they have not done it with over-aggressiveness from the defensive standpoint as far as holding and bumping and shoving. They have put good pressure on. They played good position, and they've gotten their game established without the overuse of aggressiveness that was prevalent in the last 2 games down in Phoenix. So they can get their game going without being that rough.
Dave Cowens with a much-deserved rest out of the game, and Jimmy Yard will chase Alvin Adams. Perry inside. We've seen that play. It has worked a couple of times.
Yes, and it's a breakdown on the Celtics' weak side help. That man on the weak side should be dropping in to help that man who is running on the ball side.
28-12 and 3:30 to go in the first quarter. Adams may be a little too quick for Yard. We'll watch that. Jimmy rolling the left-handed shot. Pretty offensive play by Jimmy Yard.
Those are the type of plays where Jimmy Yard is tough, down in close to the basket. He should not be outside shooting jumpers. He took a bad shot in the last game that hurt him.
Great pass by Adams inside. Erickson could not put it down. And again in the Garden, the lid is on, and Erickson's down. He is hurt. Keith is hurt. JoJo White in and out. Havlicek, second chance down. Now Keith Erickson can get the injury time out over here. He is limping back over toward the Suns bench. He injured a leg after coming through, attempting a layup. John McLeod furious.
Looks like his right ankle, Brent. He seemed to twist his right ankle after the play, trying to hustle back to get the ball.
Brent, they've called an injury timeout, which will not affect the overall timeouts. They still have 4 timeouts remaining in the ballgame.
It's a 20-point Boston Celtic lead, and let's take a look at that, Rick.
Let's watch the play. Now look at his right ankle right there. John Havlicek comes down and steps on it, and as he goes to move, his ankle turns in because of John stepping on it. It was just a freak play.
Westphal trying to penetrate and give it up, and there was pushing as Paul tried to swim down that left baseline and get to the basket. We had a lot of pretty girls down in Phoenix, and I see we've got quite a few on hand here in Boston. 2:44 to go in the first quarter. The ex-Celtic Paul Westphal at that line.
Paul and Charlie Scott have been alternating games as far as playing good games and then poor games. It seems that they're trying a little bit too hard when they're playing at the city where they came from. Paul played poorly in the first 2 games, played well in Phoenix, and Charlie played well up here and poorly down in Phoenix.
Let me set the Celtics lineup. Havlicek, Silas, McDonald, Ard, and White about to be altered. Dave Cowens will check back in. Westphal almost had a steal and an easy basket. White is open, all alone. For Phoenix on the attack, Van Arsdale, Westphal, Dennis Autry, Alvin Adams, and Curtis Perry. So the 2 centers are operating against Ard, and Cowens will come back. And it was Paul Silas who screened Autry out and yanked down the board, and Glenn McDonald gave it up. Ard didn't expect the pass. There was contact. Curtis Perry slammed into him underneath. A much more relaxed Tommy Heinsohn than we witnessed down in Phoenix. Still got his tie tight.
Let's watch this play coming down the floor. The long pass by JoJo White gets it down to Glenn McDonald, who can't shoot the ball, sees Jimmy Ard, passes to him. Curtis Perry cannot stop himself and runs into him, picking up the foul.
Cowens. Outlet from Westphal, too far away from Alvin Adams. He overlet him, and on the turnover, the Celtics will bring it back.
That's 7 turnovers now for the Phoenix Suns, Brent.
Pressure defense in the Garden. With 1:50 to go in the first quarter, Charlie Scott, again on the penetration, should have just gone right up for the basket that time. And here are the Suns. McDonald knocked it away and out of bounds.
I mean, an interesting substitution, bringing Charlie Scott back into the ball game with 3 personal fouls, with JoJo White going to the bench.
Might have expected to see Kevin Stakem in this situation, but instead Charlie is back out there with a score 34-14 to 133 in the first. Dick Van Arsdale. Here come the Celtics from behind the back. It's Scott, it's 3-on-2. Hondo on the left wing, breaking all alone, has position, battling for the ball. Curtis Perry takes it away, and here come the Suns. Havlicek running better than I've seen him at any time, and Jimmy Ard came right down on top of Van Arsdale. We had 5 team fouls against the Celtics, 4 against Phoenix. So penalty coming up for Van Arsdale.
Well, here's the penetration we talked so much about. Dick Van Arsdale gets McDonald turned sideways, goes inside, pulls the ball away from Jim Ard, who hacks him across the arm as he goes to the basket.
Keith Erickson is walking away with the Phoenix team position towards the locker room. He is now out of the arena. There is the back of one of the doctors as they go through. So Keith suffered an injured ankle, goes back here early in the first quarter. It's been a frustrating final series.
I was just going to say that. He's had difficulty putting the ball in the basket, plus getting into foul trouble in several of the games.
What a series he had against the Golden State Warriors. He's one of the reasons why Rick Barry is sitting next to me and not playing against the Boston Celtics. Glenn McDonald gives it up. 34-16, 50 seconds. If you're wondering about Game 6, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on CBS, right after the soccer showdown between the Cosmos and the Rowdies. And Westphal, no offense.
Great defensive position that time. Picking up the charge on Paul Westphal.
Van Arsdale out. Sobers and Westphal at guard for Phoenix. Autry and Adams, both centers on the floor for Phoenix, and both centers for Boston. Ard and Cowens. Steve Kaversky, 33 on the floor. Curtis Perry, who has come back after a short rest and has shown some aggression on that defensive board. Sobers directs the play verbally. Sobers wants it.
They're trying to take advantage of Charlie Scott, who has the 3 fouls, and Charlie backed off, and he had the shot to the basket.
Ard is open. At the buzzer. Jimmy Ard climaxes the highest scoring quarter of this series. In the third quarter of Game 2, the Boston Celtics exploded for 34 points. But here in the first quarter, with something to prove in Game 5, they get 36 and lead it. I think I said the biggest lead was 20 points. Actually, Boston led John McLeod and Al Bianchi's Phoenix Suns by 22 points. And in 4 minutes and 19 seconds, they have whittled that to 7.
Yes, and they've done it with the fast break. They've got easy opportunities, making the steals, good defense, playing Boston's style of play.
The Celtics trying to slow them down with some pressure in the backcourt. Lumpkin goes down. Phoenix bench screaming there was a foul. Lob pass intended for Garfield Hurd, and John Havlicek is pushing over there.
They were screaming for a foul from the Phoenix bench because Dave Cowens thought he ran right over Lumpkin.
In the last 3:45, Phoenix has outscored Boston 19-4. Great veterans there, huh? Van Arsdale and Havlicek. This time it's a misfire. Nelson saves it. Havlicek. And Curtis Perry got back. Hondo just couldn't quite get the handle on it, but was he wide open?
He was, and they didn't see him quite soon enough, and the ball was on his fingertips, and Gar Hurd ran into the ball and knocked it out of his hands. That was the break for the Suns. Celtics had an easy chance there. White.
I would say, Rick, that JoJo White does most of the scoring from the left side of the court as opposed to the right side. He loves that position on the other side, away from his right shooting arm.
Interesting observation, because the last second shot in Phoenix was from the right side. 4 minutes and 50 seconds first half. Silas was up there with Garfield Hurd.
That is covering a man like a blanket. You could not ask for a better defensive job than what Paul Silas did just there.
48-39. 4:46, Game 5, NBA Championship. Game 6 live on CBS, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday. Van Arsdale, the missed shot by Cowens after Paul Silas had tried to control the offensive end. Bill Lumpkin, a second-year pro from Miami of Ohio, formerly the Portland Trailblazers. Nelly knocked it away from Curtis Perry. Turn around by Adams, pretty play. It's 48-41, it's back to within 7. 4-11. And Nate Hawthorne will check in for John McLeod's son. JoJo was working hard on Lumpkin, and he finally put it in.
Well, Minnie, we did it again. You talked about the right side, and he plumped one in there.
He used the glass, though, Rick. He didn't swish the net.
That's true.
Adams again. Quick release on that shot. White, right side.
Again, the right side. Rick, what are you going to do about that?
Well, just shows you that JoJo's a heck of a player.
52-41. Adams. Iron. Here comes JoJo. You can shoot from the right, you can lead the break all alone. And Paul Silas got back with a good effort on Garfield Hurd. He came rolling down there like an express train as Dennis Autry gets up. There was a foul called. Nate Hawthorne in along with Autry.
Now let's watch the play. JoJo driving in, makes a good drive to the hoop, lays it up, gets a bad break on the shot. It rolls off. Gar Hurd's in position. You see Silas into the picture. He jumps up, and his momentum carries him into Gar Hurd, picking up the foul. And there's the fourth foul on the Boston Celtics. As Kevin Stakem also comes into the game for Boston, replacing JoJo White.
Let me set the Phoenix attack. Lumpkin and Van Arsdale, Hawthorne, Autry, and Adams. John McLeod goes to his two-center offense. Board power. Van Arsdale takes the shot. Havlicek rebound. Gets past Van Arsdale. Comes in between Autry and Adams and crashes into that basket support as he went down, striking it with his shoulder.
John saw a little bit of an opening, and he just knifed right in between the two defensive players. Let's watch him again. There he is with the ball. A little opening, and he just squeezes his way through there, picking up the foul. Took a pretty good fall on the ground, but he just did manage to avoid the support, Brent.
Ricky Sobers back on the floor for Phoenix. Havlicek on the line because of Dennis Autry's foul.
We were in the locker room watching John Havlicek get ready for the game, Brent, and he is the most fastidious type of player you ever want to see, or an individual. He has all his toiletries in height, from left to right, in size, and not only that, but when he gets in dress, he takes his socks and he puts them on individual hangers or hooks. Unbelievable sight to watch him get ready.
He also has his basketball game in order as he picks up Ricky Sobers. Stakem has Lumpkin. Silas will take Autry. Sobers out far from the glass. Cowan, 54-41. Nelson. And Adams got a hand on it, and here come the Suns. Cowens was battling, and it's a backcourt foul as he came back out to get it. That is going to be the third foul. And it was committed in the backcourt.
I believe they called a foul on Silas, Brent.
And not Cowens, because I see two over there. Take a look at that.
Well, it was actually Paul Silas got the first foul reaching in, and Dave came over and made contact. But the foul, I believe, was called on Paul Silas, his second.
Heinsohn checking with the scorer's table, too, just to make sure. But the two went up, and that would be official. It is on Paul Silas and not Cowens in the backcourt.
I think there could have been a foul call maybe earlier. When the Celtics had the ball, I think both officials were blocked out and didn't see one of the Celtics get fouled, therefore causing the turnover and the backcourt foul.
Don Nelson looked like somebody grabbed him as he went through on the arm, and he threw the ball right into the hands of the Phoenix Suns.
It's an 11-point Celtic lead. 2 minutes and 18 seconds to go until halftime. Red Auerbach, Jack Whitaker on the Belmont. Halftime, Sonny Hill with highlights. Dave Cowens faking away on Adams. Not only got the field goal, but drew the foul on the rookie. That is Adams' third foul, the fourth team foul, and Garfield Hurd will come into this basketball game. Autry, remember, is already on the floor.
As Dave Cowens down low with Alvin Adams, he gets the ball, reverses, gives a good fake, gets Alvin Adams in the air, hits him on the hand, and Alvin Adams violated one of the primary rules in defensive basketball. Do not leave your feet.
A 14-point Boston Celtic lead. Phoenix had whittled it to 7. Then the Celts got 7 more on the lead end.
Suns must be very, very patient here and try and get a good shot. That is not a good shot.
And again it is Cowens and Hawthorne with a spectacular defensive play, and then he was all over John Havlicek. He was frustrated on the miss. That's a mistake that a young basketball player will make, like Nate Hawthorne. Tremendous play you'll see again. Rick Barry, tell us about it.
Yes, here we go. Here's the shot coming off. Cowens with the ball, makes the pass, a super interception by Hawthorne. He rushes himself and takes the shot. And in his anxiety to go get it back, he knew he missed it. He just climbs right up John Havlicek's back as if he were a ladder. And he's done that in several playoff games. He's got great jumping ability, and he just gets carried away with his emotion trying to go to those offensive boards.
Havlicek made absolutely sure that he drew that foul. He crumpled up down there.
Phoenix Suns, of course, in trouble right now with their two top scorers in the series so far, Westfall and Alvin Adams, sitting on the bench, both in foul trouble.
And the Suns trailing 59-43 with 1:35 to go in the first half of Game 5. Sobers forcing some shots from the outside. The Suns have gone away from their patient pattern of style, getting some easy layups. Cowens throws one up, and Autry and Silas were battling underneath.
That's going to be the third foul, I believe, on Paul Silas. Picking up a foul as he crashes into the boards. And you have to give the Celtics credit now, because what they've done is reverse this trend that was taking place with the Phoenix Suns chopping that lead down to 7 points from 22 in 4 minutes. The last 4 minutes, they built it back up to 16.
Havlicek drying off, uses a couple of seconds to exchange conversation and thoughts with Tommy Heinsohn and John Killalay. Autry.
Brent, with that blue-vested suit that John McLeod is wearing over there, looking so handsome, you would never guess he's a basketball coach. If you met him on the street, you'd think he was a business executive or possibly an attorney. Very good-looking, sharp suit.
59-45, 117. Dowling. Autry was out there. Good defense. Dennis with control.
That's where they like to see Dave Cowens, I'm sure, rather than underneath the basket. He's caused a lot more problems underneath.
Inside of a minute left in the first half, Boston Garden. Battle for the loose ball. JoJo White with control. Last 40 seconds in the first half coming up. Silas calling the play because he picked up the signal from Tommy Heinsohn. Got to hurry with the shot clock a factor. Nelly was crashing to the floor. Pain on his face as he went down.
Don Nelson once again with a good fake. Let's take a look at this play again. You watch him get the ball inside. He'll turn, give a good fake with the ball, gets his man off his feet. Hawthorne drives in as he goes in. Gets hit down low and takes a pretty good shot. When he hits that floor, he hit it with his right elbow, his back, and his head also crashed down as he went to the floor.
I must say that I do not think it a coincidence that the commissioner, Larry O'Brien, is in attendance tonight, and both coaches have stopped their complaining. The referees are going unnoticed in this game, and the ball players are playing basketball. Larry walked away toward the locker room, and I have a hunch something was said.
Well, John McLeod, I think, said it well after the last ball game. Of course, he just got finished winning his second playoff game and evening the series, but he said, I complained in the first two ball games. Heinsohn has done it in the last two. Why don't we just be quiet and give the game back to the players? And that's exactly what has happened. And it's been a fine basketball game to this point. With the Celtics having two good surges, the Phoenix has won, and that's been the difference right now.
Rick, I've always said that no one pays to watch a coach nor a referee. They come in to see the ball players play.
That's what I try to tell the officials, too.
We don't listen sometimes, right? Why don't they listen to you?
I don't know.
25 seconds first half. Brent Musburger along with Rick Barry and Mindy Rudolph from the Boston Garden. This is Game 5 of the NBA Championship. Game 6 Sunday. Sobers and Cowens was out there, and Ricky forced another one up. And Nate Hawthorne, and he had 1 foot in the back court. As he was battling to save it, there was 1 foot over the line. There's no question about this.
There's the play. He picks up the ball, makes a good interception. Can't get control of himself. He hits the floor, and he continues to go. And watch his foot. The left one will step back over the half-court line, and that is the violation. He had possession. And you're not allowed to cross back over that half-court line once you have it in the front court.
Paul Silas will rest the last few seconds of the first half. Kaburski may have brought a play in, but it doesn't matter. JoJo is going to take it. I am impressed with Nate Hawthorne. He showed some skills here. That shot, of course, not good. The buzzer had gone off beforehand. So in the Boston Garden, the Celtics get 36 in the first quarter. Then their 22-point lead is cut to 7. But now they open it up again. It's 61-45 at the half.
Brent, it's amazing how these games can fluctuate up and down. Boston hasn't scored from the field in 3:48, and Phoenix has outscored them this third quarter 21-7.
Ricky Sobers has matched the entire Celtic team. Alvin Adams had control, and he was fouled back there, and that is in the backcourt. And I saw a very small core of Phoenix fans over there behind their bench who were up as the team came out following that timeout, urging this club on. Alvin Adams following that backcourt foul, coming up to the free throw line. It's 68-66.
Well, aside from the poor shooting, as you saw, Phoenix now shooting 67% to 19 or so for the Celtics. The Celtic bugaboo in the last 2 games down in Phoenix, turnovers has hurt them in the third quarter. They've turned the ball over 4 times in the early going, and that really hurt them because Phoenix converted it into field goals.
We are tied in Boston. 3:58 to go in the third quarter. An amazing turnaround.
The first tie in the ball game, Brett.
Dick Van Arsdale, Rick has checked in. Paul Westphal will take a rest for John McLeod. See what the Celtics come up with. From the perimeter, they moved it. And Steve Kaburski sunk it.
And Steve got that shot because Gar Herb was dropping in the middle to clog it up, and they got the ball to the open man for the jump shot. Good ball movement by the Celtics.
Murray wants it. McDonald is fronting him. Shot clock goes down inside of 5. Sobers goes for 9 points. Not this time. Cowens outlet to White, who's breaking. Van Arsdale got back on defense and knocked it out of bounds. No foul, even though the crowd wants it.
Let's watch the defense on Cowens. Look at the three men of Phoenix right around Dave Cowens. You see Gar Hurd is already dropping in. The ball goes out to Kapersky, who's open with the jumper.
Quick shot by McDonald off the inbounds pass. Steve Kapersky. Hurd to Van Arsdale and Charlie Scott ready to come back into the game. Phoenix trailing it by 2 points. Inside at 3 minutes left, third quarter. Game 5, NBA championship. Curry goes for the tie. Control by Gar Hurd. And Alvin Adams. And finally the Celtics have got the ball. JoJo White. Iron. Cowens controls the offensive rebound and hooks it in. It's a 4-point Celtic lead.
Notice something in that last series, Brett. There were 3 Celtics who had open shots and didn't take them. I think they're playing just possibly a little too cautious at this point in the ballgame.
Nate Hawthorne ready to check back in for the Sun. Crowd chanting defense. Adams in the air, and it's a 2-point Celtic lead with 2 minutes and 10 seconds to go.
The man the Celtics are missing right now is Paul Silas. The Suns are getting a lot of second opportunities on the board, and they certainly miss Paul on the defensive boards and offensive boards as well.
Silas with 5 fouls on Tommy Heinsohn's bench. McDonald outside. It's 4 points. It's 74-70, 145. You are watching a team that finished only 2 games above 500 in the regular season, battle for a championship. They are a wild card team, and they are within 2 points of the Boston Celtics in Game 5 in the Boston Garden. One of the most incredible comebacks in all of sport. Wild card, dueling the dynasty for an NBA title. Cross court, Kapersky. Cowan, double team. And Curtis Perry on the turnover as again those Suns clog the inside passing lane. Inside pass off of Sober's hands and out of bounds. Nate Hawthorne and Charlie Scott check in. Hawthorne for Phoenix and Scott for Boston.
I would be surprised if we don't see very shortly a zone warning against the Phoenix Suns, because they are really clogging up that 16-foot lane and blocking off everything. Let's watch for it and see if it happens.
Clock moves inside of a minute, third quarter, Boston Garden. White tries to penetrate and is cut off there. Scott tries to get in, and Van Arsdale's got him, but he bounced off, and Scott had daylight.
That was all individual move that time by Charlie Scott.
76-72, 4-point Celtic lead. Shot clock down, good defense. And again, Ricky Sobers gave it up down there by the inline.
Those 2 turnovers now have hurt the Phoenix Suns. Alvin Adams throwing the ball away, Ricky Sobers losing the ball, and they have not gotten an opportunity to shoot the ball at the basket.
John McLeod signals the play. That's his shrill whistle that you picked up on our microphone. Cowens wants it. Cowens, inside move on Alvin Adams, drew it. That is the 5th foul on the Rookie of the Year, Alvin Adams, and that's exactly what Dave Cowens wanted to do.
That now, of course, is going to put Alvin Adams on the bench. Dennis Autry will be coming back in the ball game. Let's watch the play again. We see Cowens with the ball. And this man cuts through. He makes the move to the inside. Adams gave him the inside position, left his feet, and made contact with Dave. Good call by the official.
Off the arm.
76-72. The pressure is on number 21 of the Phoenix Suns, Dennis Autry, who must take Cowens.
You don't think that he's an intense individual? Do you see that look on his face?
5-point lead. Sobers against the clock. Threw one up that would not fall. But it was a splendid comeback by the Phoenix Suns. They whittled away, crawled right back into it. We've got 12 minutes of action. It's 77-72 Boston. Charlie Charlie Scott dove in over there on the pass play.
There's one area that Phoenix Suns have really suffered in here in the later part of the game. It's been turnovers.
Dan Arsdale was trying to pop away from Charlie Scott and was called when he threw that elbow back on him to get some distance. Somebody has thrown a cup on the floor. We'll see if he can get Murphy's attention to get it off. They don't see it there at midcourt. Here's JoJo White and Collins. We got 5:21, 88-81. Scott in and out. Celtics still with control, and nobody has got that off the floor. I'm so frightened when I see something like that. Somebody going to slip on it. Here is Collins on a hook shot that went in. 90-81. There it is. Still don't see it. Richie Powers has picked it up, and he's going to get rid of it. Now it's 4:53 to go. Here's Perry over to Alvin Adams. Adams in the air. Put it down. 90-83.
That still keeps it well within reach for the Phoenix Suns. And fans should realize that when they do something like that, one of their own ball players make it hurt. That's just a silly thing to do at a sporting event.
4 minutes and 35 seconds. John McLeod is off the Phoenix bench, kneeling down, watching his defense. Al Bianchi standing. These are vital moments right here. Scott on the turnaround. And Perry with control. And here come the Suns. They can pull to within 5. We've got 4:20 to go. Westfall patiently signals the play. Collins taking Adams. David has played an incredible game. Here's Westfall on JoJo White with the turnaround, and Paul Silas has come back off the bench playing with those 5 fouls, yanked down the defensive board. Lead can swell to 9 if the Celts can hit here. Havlicek forced out of the middle, went to the right side and hit it.
Big series coming up now for both the Celtics on defense and the Suns on offense.
3 minutes and 35 seconds to go in regulation time. A 9-point Celtic lead. Westfall made it 7.
Well, the Suns came through with the offense, and this time the roles are reversed. Celtics, of course, needing to get a good shot, and the Suns must stop them.
Ricky Sobers will be checking in. Silas goes down inside, so Hurd has to stay with him, and Collins missed, and Adams control.
They got a bad break on that bounce that time.
Adams almost traveled, got it off to Westfall. Oh, Westfall with back-to-back baskets has made it 92-87 right now. This is the noisiest Boston Garden crowd I have experienced this year. They have been somewhat complacent, but then Phoenix made a series of it, and the Boston fans can come alive like no fans in America. Havlicek took it from White inside to Dave Collins, who tried to go baseline past the White, and again the Suns had hands in the passing lane. A 5-point difference. You can see the clock on the scoreboard counting down inside at 2:30. Fans chanting defense in the Garden. Westfall has had the hot hand. Thought he had it, did not. Silas controlled.
Here's the man that's so important to that Boston rebounding game, Paul Silas, along with Dave Collins.
You joined us late. John Havlicek started his first game of the championship series, and the Celtics exploded for 36 first-quarter points. Phoenix has been battling to catch up and go ahead ever since. Silas with a miss. They caught him in the third quarter, but they couldn't hold on. And Adams was out with those 5 fouls. Sobers went in the air and hit the basket. The crowd thought he was guilty of an offensive foul, swinging out that right elbow. It is 92-89, a 3-point game. 1 minute and 45 seconds to go in the Boston Garden. John McLeod and Al Bianchi are up. Tommy Heinsohn up for the Celtics. JoJo up. And Gar Hurd controls, and the Phoenix Suns can pull to within 1 point. The timeout situation. You know, it's interesting, the end of Game 4 when we were down in Phoenix, a lot of fans were questioning the fact that the Celtics didn't call the timeout. They had called the play prior to that. They said that if Phoenix misses, get down as quickly as you can. The play was to go to Dave Collins, but Garfield Hurd had sloughed off and double-teamed him, So JoJo White took the shot outside.
From what he was drawing on the paper, it looks as though they're going to bring either Curtis Perry or Garfield Hurd up to the basketball from the weak side of the floor and then try to run some action on the side of the floor that the forward came from. Let's see if I was able to distinguish his marks on that paper.
Rick also must remember that Salas has 5 fouls. Let's see if they go to work on him.
Adams with the ball, and the clock moves down on the right-hand side of your screen. Total time left here, regulation time of Game 5. Westfall had it knocked away on a penetration. Celtics come right back on the turnover. They lead Game 5 by 3 points in 1 minute and 15 and inside. Scott holding it up now. He has been a much calmer player. He had a long private talk with Red Auerbach. He has fouled out of every game until this one. JoJo White cuts to the basket, and Paul Silas put it down. 94-89. Now it's 5 points. Suns have a minute to work with. Westfall was coming down the baseline, and he was fouled. He's not shooting, and of course they are not yet in the penalty, so they'll have it out on the side. 14 fouls against Boston, 3 against Phoenix. Westfall turnaround. 94-91, Phoenix alive with 52 seconds and a 3-point Boston lead. So that was a big basket by Westfall. Kept his team in it, and Westfall knocks it away. Came around behind Charlie Scott. Here's Paul back down the other way. Paul Westfall puts it in. And came down to the floor and drew the foul. What a sequence by Paul Westfall. Unbelievable. That is Charlie Scott committing the foul. Let's watch this play again. Paul Westfall, great defensive behind Charlie, knocks it away. Adams throws the long pass to Paul Westfall. He comes in, drives to the basket. There he goes. He drives up, and from behind, Charlie Scott caught him and knocked him down. And he had a bonus situation. Charlie Scott out of the basketball game again, fouling out of all 5 final playoff basketball games. And now Paul Westfall has a chance to tie this game with 39 seconds to go. And we have going to have some action coming up now. A stunned silence here in the Boston Garden. The Celtics led it by 5. Paul Westfall hit it outside. Paul Westfall came back, forced a steal, hit the layup, and now he comes to the free throw line. And he's been a big spark plug. He has scored 8 of the last 10 points, made the great play, knocking the ball away from Charlie Scott. 2 chances to make one to tie this basketball game. That's one of the greatest individual efforts I have ever seen in a basketball game, right there by Paul Westfall. I want to tell you.
That race was 2 years ago when I was doing the playoffs, and Dave Cowens made that unbelievable steal in the backcourt off of a guard on a switch-off play and ran and dove for the ball. That was a fantastic effort. This half the rate along with that.
Mindy, were you working that game 2 years ago?
I was working that ball game. Yes, I was. And we weren't too sure at that point whether there was a 24-second violation involved in that game. And there was, and Cowens just made a super play. He's that kind of a player. Let's watch here and see what Tommy Heinsohn has diagrammed if we can.
Tommy Heinsohn goes to that notepad. There are 39 seconds left in the game. Tied at 94. The Celtics led by 22 at one point.
The situation right now is this. The Phoenix Suns, of course, must play excellent defense to try to stop the Celtics from scoring a basket. If they are able to do that, make them use up at least 10 seconds on the clock playing tough defense, and if the Celtics do not score, they then will be in a situation where they can take the last shot of the ball game and either go into overtime or win. That would be the ideal situation. From the Celtics standpoint, they may want to try to come down and get a quick play inside like they were able to do in Phoenix the other afternoon. If they can do that, the other evening that is, they have a situation then where even if they don't score, if Phoenix comes down and does score, they still have the chance for the last shot to tie.
Now the play that Tommy Heinsohn wanted at the end of Game 4 was the pass to Dave Cowens cutting through the lane, and he rolls it up. Now that was taken away because Garfield Hurd had sloughed out of Paul Silas. The crowd urging the Celtics on here in the Boston Garden.
The Phoenix Suns must now put a lot of pressure on this inbounds pass. Make it tough to get the ball in. Try to keep them outside, eat up the clock as much as possible, and hope that they miss. And as I pointed out again, Boston's got to try, at least in my opinion, to get the ball to the basket with a good shot in a relatively short period of time to try and take advantage of the clock.
Don Nelson will throw the pass in. White, Silas, Cowens and Havlicek, and Phoenix is not yet in the penalty.
Right,
Only 3 fouls against them.
They have one, but I don't think they should take it right now. They still have a chance to play good defense and save it for the last 2 seconds if
See
necessary.
what they come up with. JoJo White came out, Sobers on him. Clock starts down. Game is all tied. Adams fronts Cowens. Nelson. They're watching for Cowens inside. Perry had sloughed off. Here's White from the top of the circle. And it was Cowens, and it was blocked by Garfield
That's
Hurd.
a foul.
There was
A foul
whistle
is being
blown
called.
outside.
A foul is going to be called, I think. Let's see if Don Murphy's calling. Let's watch
Murphy's
the replay.
going over to see Richie Powers.
The replay here. Watch. There's Paul. There he is. Dave Cowens shoves Garfield Hurd off without any question. Don Murphy made a good call. You see the replay. If we can show that back again, please. We want to take a look at it. Watch Cowens. It's very obvious. Watch his right arm. There's Perry. Watch his right arm. Right there. Takes his arm to give Perry the shove, picking up the foul going over the back. Curtis Perry with the...
Is a gutsy call in the Boston Garden.
Well, you bet your life it's a gutsy call, but it was a call that had to be made, and the official was on top of it. The replay shows it.
Don Murphy called it from outside. Richie Powers was on top of it and couldn't see it as well as Don could.
This Curtis Perry's biggest free throw of his career.
Missed it, and it's a 1-point game, and immediately Silas has got timeout with 22 seconds. We got 95-94. Now remember, we got Silas with 5, and we got Adams with 5. That's the Tommy Heinsohn diagramming the play that they're going to use here at the end. You can see that Celtic movement and then sort of swinging over to the right side. He could have a Don Nelson or a Havlicek out there.
I would imagine to be a type of play where one of the guards will come down and set the screen inside. They'd like to run this high post play. Cowens with the ball. JoJo White will come off of the play. If he's not open, the other man may circle around in front of Cowens, coming towards the basket, going around and back of him again to get the jump shot there. That's what it looks like on that play. They love to run that play. And they also have a play where the man can go and backdoor from the weak side if the defensive man turns his head off of that particular
And it looks much easier on paper when you haven't got Perry, Van Arsdale, Hurd, Sobers, and Adams, as the Phoenix Suns have taken their only lead in this game with 22 seconds to play. An unbelievable turnaround here. The Celtics with 22 seconds. Clock will start when the ball is touched on the inbounds. Havlicek starts the clock. Van Arsdale's got him. Hondo up in the air. There was a whistle and he was fouled. Now John Havlicek will come to the line with the Boston Celtics trailing by a point.
Let's watch the play again. John Havlicek comes off, gets the pass, dribbles to the basket, turns around on a tough shot. Alvin Adams reaches in, catches him on the left arm. Good call by the official. Alvin Adams leads the game with 20 points.
So rookie Alvin Adams goes to the bench and Tommy Heinsohn looks on. And if I had to pick one man in all the world to shoot free throws with 19 seconds left and I was down 95-94, you're looking at him.
And Phoenix has one timeout left. I'm sure they'll use it after this free throw.
I take offense to that, Brent.
Rick, you're not in this one. He missed it, but he's got it back with 17 seconds. They missed the free throw, and Hondo wants the ball. 12 seconds. We're tied in Boston. Cowens gave it up to Havlicek at 8 seconds outside. Out. 5 seconds. It looks like we may have overtime, although timeout has been called. 3 seconds. The clock ticked down. They've got 3 seconds now.
That was definitely a mistake by the Boston Celtics. They had the ball back at a big break as Cowens tapped it out. They should have played for the ball to be in the air at the buzzer. They either win the game or they go into overtime. By taking that shot, they have given the Phoenix Suns a golden opportunity to beat the Boston Celtics for the first time in playoff competition this year at Boston Garden.
I would have bet you $10,000.
3 seconds, Brent, is a lot of time, especially when you get the ball up half
Tommy
court.
Heinsohn and Curtis Perry there with Richie Powers. Perry was in conversation and Tommy ran down.
There's the ball. He calls timeout. There's 4 seconds on the clock. Richie looks as though he's signaling, or Murphy looks like he's signaling back here for the timeout. He starts to walk and the clock then goes down to 3 seconds. And that's what the complaining is about.
They want the 4th second. Immediately, the coaches of Phoenix came off the bench, and it is the 3rd official who can be conferred with now, can't he, Mindy, in this situation?
Yes, he can. And what happened on the play, obviously, Brent, is by the time Murphy blew his whistle to recognize the timeout, a second flicked. And that can happen very, very easily.
It was less than a second. It could have been only a tenth of a second. It had to expire. And by the time the official scorer flicked that switch back, the clock just barely ticked to 3.
Exactly. I am shocked at Boston not holding the ball and waiting for that last shot.
Well, I'm also shocked that John Havlicek missed that free throw. Brent, you know that's what happens when we talk about things like that. We seem to snake bite people.
I couldn't believe it, and then the ball bounced right back to him. Out of the hoop. Let's take a look at that sequence again, Rick.
All right, here's John Havlicek. Plenty of time left. He's taking this shot with 8 seconds to go. That's far too many seconds on the clock. The ball bounces off. We'll get the ball. He's got it. He calls time. He signals timeout. Looks like he's starting to wave for timeout with 5 seconds to go, and that clock goes all the way down to 3 seconds. Looks like they might have had a pretty good reason to complain.
Looking at that replay, Rick, somewhere along the line we lost a second, yes.
Now the Celtic will use that great pressure that they usually put on. Jim Ard is in the ball game to pick the man up, taking it out of bounds. Who's going to be Gar Hurd.
Gar Hurd standing right in front of me here at the table. Jimmy Ard is on him. Won't start till it's touched. And Collins is out there, and we've got overtime in the Boston Garden.
I will tell you,
yes, sir.
It's a good thing that Richie Powers did not see Paul Silas calling timeout, because there were no timeouts left, and had he given the timeout, there would have been a technical foul, which could have caused the ball game to be lost. It's a good thing he was not looking.
Well, I like to see this again. Let's take a look at this minute. Here's the pass. It was a bad inbounds pass. 3 seconds, it bounces around. He's got the ball. Now watch Paul Silas. He definitely signals for timeout, and the official does not grant it. If he had granted it, there's 1 second to go. He's looking right at Richie Powers signaling timeout. Now, I don't know how Richie Powers did not see that, but the Celtics are very fortunate that he did not acknowledge it, as Mindy pointed out, because that is a technical foul in the NBA, and they would have a technical free throw to help put them ahead by 1 point.
Even Beth Havlicek and the other Boston Celtic players' wives feel the pressure as we start this 5-minute overtime period, and JoJo White's wife comes to her feet. The players come out to center court for fouls now. Keep in mind, Collins with 4, Silas with 5, and of course, lost in all the turmoil around the end of that game is the fact that John McLeod's starting center, Alvin Adams, fouled out of the game. Charlie Scott fouled out earlier, so we got 2 players on the bench, and the OT begins in the Boston Garden. What a series this has become. Collins cutting off. Suns got their hands on the ball, but again, the Celtics save it. Havlicek to Nelson. Nelson shoots it. Inside, Paul Westphal is hurt.
And Paul Silas with another super offensive rebound. That man is incredible underneath those offensive boards. Paul Westphal is limping badly on the other side of the
timeout,
floor.
Rick. Right now, they went to the injury timeout.
Interesting point here. If they had called an injury timeout in the second half, they could not call an injury timeout in the overtime. So what will happen is they will be charged with a regular timeout. No penalty, just a timeout.
Timeout, loose.
They charged it, which is exactly what that conversation was about.
Let's take a look and see if we can find out what happened to Paul Westphal. Here's the replay. The pass into Havlicek. It's knocked out. Havlicek crashes into Paul Westphal as he follows through, or as Dave Cowan's crashing into him, as Havlicek gets the ball back, and you see Westphal rolling on the ground hurt.
Back in the Boston Garden with 4 minutes and 28 seconds remaining of the 5-minute overtime, and the Boston Celtics leading the Phoenix Suns by 2 points. The Suns came back after trailing by 22 points in this ball game.
The man who has been the thorn in the side of the Phoenix Suns has been Paul Silas, with his rebounding offensively and defensively.
Paul Westphal has gone out with that injury. Sobers, Van Arsdale, Perry, Opry, and Hurd will take it in now for John McLeod. Shot clock down to 1. Sobers must hurry. Just got it off at the buzzer. And they have turned it over on the pass up the court on the break. Alvin Adams, the rookie of the year who fouled out, watching from the sideline. Ricky Sobers gives it up to Van Arsdale. Gar Hurd facing the basket. Sobers from deep in the left corner. Nelson rebound.
That's not a good shot for the Phoenix Suns offense.
And without Alvin Adams, they must be very careful. Both Adams and Paul Westphal out for different reasons. Adams with 6 fouls, Westphal with an injury. And it's Cowens, Havlicek, Nelson, Silas, and White for the Celtics, and Cowens makes it a 4-point day. And don't forget, they've also lost Keith Erickson because of an injury. Curtis Perry. And Perry came back in. They sandwiched Nelson between Perry and Garfield Hurd, and there was a loose ball foul called on Curtis Perry.
Once again, the Suns a little bit impatient with their offense, taking 2 difficult outside shots rather than trying to execute that offense where they get the inside game going. And good defense again by the Celtics, putting the pressure on, forcing the Suns to stay outside.
Charlie Scott fouled out, so John Havlicek and JoJo White are working in the backcourt. Paul Westphal back in there, and on the turnover, it's Garfield Hurd with the interception. 99-95. 3 minutes left in overtime. Hurd and Silas collided, and a blocking foul is called down inside.
Paul Westphal has picked up an offensive foul, Brent. On the move, he ran into Paul Silas as Gar Hurd was making a move to the basket, and that was just a mix-up on the offense.
Two minutes and 40 seconds. Celtics leading in overtime by 4. Ricky Sobers drove up, and the Suns have got it on the turnover. Taken away by JoJo White, who comes right back.
So many times an offensive player will take the ball up the floor, look ahead of him, and not realize that he's got pursuit from behind. And that time JoJo White was almost able to make the steal.
2 minutes and 24 seconds, and Dick Van Arsdale will check back in for the Suns, who are still trying to score here in overtime. Gar Hurd with that high arching shot, and they finally get on the board in overtime. It's 99-97, 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Here come the Celtics and Havlicek. JoJo White. And it's 4 again. It's 101-97.
Well, if it's one guy you don't want to give an open shot to, it's JoJo White.
Celtics pressure defense, taking that shot clock down to 5 seconds. Inside of 5. Curtis Perry off the glass with a shot that got Phoenix right back in it. 101-99. Just when you get ready to say these guys are out of it, they come back with something. 125. 2-point basketball game in overtime. Here's Paul Silas. Westphal jumped over. Nelly gave it up to White. White gives it up to Havlicek. Shot clock down to 3 seconds. John goes up with a missed shot. Silas with a tremendously important rebound at this point. 109. Nelly's shot not there. Cowens got up. Wouldn't fall. Autry with control. The Suns can tie it. Inside of 1 minute left in overtime. Silas with those 5 fouls playing Gar Hurd. Autry gave it up to Sobers. Hurd is inside. High arch goes right straight through. It's tied with 45 seconds. We're going to have a timeout here in this overtime. What a performance by both these basketball teams in the 5th game of this NBA championship. The series is tied at 2 apiece. So is game 5 in overtime.
I would say, Brent, that the strategy right now for the Boston Celtics would be to come down, try to get a good opportunity shot within 10 or 12 seconds. And that way, even if you don't score, if the Phoenix Suns were to use all 24 seconds on their possession, they would then have the last shot of the basketball game.
Quickly, some of the leading scorers. Cowens with 24. Havlicek with 20. White with 20. Adams, who fouled out, scored 20. Perry with 19. Westfall with 19. So here are the last 45 seconds of overtime. Silas, Havlicek, White, Nelson, and Cowens. Against Van Arsdale, Sobers, Perry, Hurd, and Autry. Cowens outside over Autry. And Curtis Perry got out there, and the Suns have used up their last timeout with 29 seconds to go, and the score tied. And now what will they do strategically, Rick?
Well, I would imagine that they're going to use up as much as the clock as possible. Try to get down inside, running their offense. Try to get the basket with maybe 1 or 2 seconds only to go on the 24-second clock. If that were the case, then of course the Celtics would only have 6 or 7 seconds to come down and try and generate something on their end. They, of course, would call a timeout to get the ball up at half court to take advantage of that extra 45 feet. And somebody else is hurt over there. Curtis Perry is being attended to, as you see in the right corner of your screen.
That looks like a
by
cramp.
Joe Prosky.
Looks like a cramp in his knee or either his calf, and he is being worked on.
Phoenix coach John McLeod setting the strategy. More of the same Sunday afternoon on CBS. Game 6 out of Phoenix, 3:30 p.m.
It's a leg cramp. Curtis Perry is having his left calf worked on by Joe Prosky. He's worked very hard here, and here we can see the play being put down on the floor. He's back up. It looks like he's going to be okay. Let's see if we can see this play. There's all the men in their position. Got a head in the way, unfortunately. Going to have a man cut through, come off a screen down by the forward. It's going to be the guard.
That's Paul Westfall.
Westfall.
P for Paul and R for Ricky.
Looks like Paul's going to come down off of a screen down low by one of the forwards, coming out to the left-hand corner of the court for the jump shot. But when they're going to do that remains to be seen.
29 seconds. The clock will start when it is touched on the inbounds pass. Paul Silas over here on Garfield Hurd. And Kevin Stakem is coming in for the Boston Celtics. Steve Kaversky goes out. So we have Havlicek, White, Stakem, Silas, and Cowan. Autry popped out to take the pass.
Now let's watch Paul Westfall.
Watch the clock go down. Paul is watching it himself. See how far they take the shot clock down. Well, they start the play, and Autry was fouled.
Celtics, of course, have that one foul to use. They elected to take it now. Of course, that now gives the Phoenix Suns a new 24 seconds.
They won't need it, Rick. There's only 17 left.
It's only
That's all they're
24.
gonna do.
There's 17 left, so they can now play to take the last shot and either go into overtime or win the game.
So it is down to that. Autry and Hurd, confusion on the inbounds pass. Collins all over Garfield Hurd. Here is Ricky Sobers. Clock goes down inside of 10 seconds. Handful of seconds, tied at 101. Sobers gave it up. And the Celtics have used their timeout with 3 seconds to go. That is the last timeout. Ricky Sobers gave it up as he went over to the left baseline.
Here's the play again. Well, we saw the play after JoJo had knocked the ball away. Sobers didn't have any place to go. He was in a lot of trouble, tried to force it, and it did not work.
We are back for the final 3 seconds, and Mindy Rudolph has just pointed out that the Phoenix Suns have a foul to give, and they will probably give it Rick Barry right away.
They should, and the only thing they have to be careful of is that the man does not begin his shot as they're taking the foul. But they do have one to give. They should put a lot of pressure on. When the ball gets in bounds, if the man tries to put it on the floor, he should attack him right then. The only thing
be certain, Rick, that the ball is passed in first, because if it's not, you must shoot that ball.
And also,
you got to release.
Clock doesn't start until we get it touched on there. So that's very important. Here comes Nelson with those 3 seconds. Started. Havlicek down to 2. Havlicek deep in the corner. Nelson was flying toward the basket, collided at the buzzer. No foul. No foul underneath. John McLeod thinks that Autry was fouled as Nelson came flying down the lane. And these two teams are going to go into a second overtime.
There's John Havlicek coming off. Gar Hurd with him. Goes up, good, leaves his feet. John gets him out of position. He's got the shot, but it just won't go. You see Nelson driving in there, making contact. No foul being called. But I am still surprised that as John Havlicek made that move to the corner, why the Phoenix Suns did not take a foul, especially since Garfield Hurd was in a situation where he did not have to worry too much about fouls because he only has one.
Collins with 22, Adams with 20, of course, is out of the ball game right now. JoJo White with 20, John Havlicek with 20, Curtis Perry and Paul Westphal. This has been some ball game. Now the same thing prevails again, Brent. Each team on the 14th foul goes into the penalty. 2 timeouts again for both clubs.
And the man who I think, once again, has been a big key for Boston is Paul Silas. Has played a lot of minutes with 5 personal fouls, and he has been a terror on the offensive and defensive boards for those Boston Celtics.
Let me set the lineups as you take still another look at the Sports Spectacular reminder for tomorrow. Super Joe Einhorn in that world record motorcycle jump, Muhammad Ali in the Belmont Stakes, and second overtime underway. Suns win control with Van Arsdale, Sobers, Perry, Hurd, and Autry against White, Havlicek, Silas, Nelson, and Collins. Autry out far from the basket, gave it to Ricky Sobers. Gar Hurd on the turnaround, short with that high arching shot.
I don't know why he doesn't take Paul Silas to the basket. He has 5 fouls. He doesn't want to pick up that 6th one, and yet he continues to take the outside shot, even though he did make 4 of the 6 points for Phoenix in the first overtime.
Collins with the ball on the floor, gave it up to JoJo White, who hit and put the Celtics ahead by 2 in the second overtime. We may play all night here in the Boston Garden. Good thing it's Friday night. All you kids don't have to go to school tomorrow. Just tell your dad to get you another Coca-Cola. Inside to Curtis Perry. Turn around. Battle underneath, and that's the man, Paul Silas. Lead pass to Nelly. Gave it up to Havlicek. Paul Westphal will come back in. On the turnover, Van Arsdale and Perry were right there for the Suns. Sobers takes it back from Perry, gets inside and ties it.
JoJo White that time looked like he got screened off on Dave Cowens a little bit.
3 minutes and 30 seconds left in the second overtime. Nelson went down and there was no foul.
Vic Van Arsdale really crashed into him, but the officials didn't see it.
Shot clock down towards 5 as Havlicek sent it sailing to White. And with 3 seconds to go, White puts the Celtics up by a field goal.
On that ball, JoJo had to put it to the court just one time.
105-103. There are a lot of believers in the Phoenix Suns tonight in the Boston Garden. Sobers pull-up jump shot, couldn't get inside, put it down, and there was a foul.
Boy, the Boston Celtics played some super defense that time, switching out exceptionally well, forcing Ricky Sobers to the baseline. Don Nelson once again going for the block. Now watch Nelson here as Havlicek drives to come off the screen. Watch him jump out. Good defense to this point. Now Sobers veers out. Now instead of just playing good defense with him, he tries to block the shot. Why small forwards want to become shot blockers is beyond me. And he just
Sobers has just put Phoenix up 106-105 in the second overtime. Only the second time in this basketball game that they have been ahead, and we are in double overtime.
They're really looking for JoJo White.
Cowens has it, moving on Autry, got Autry off his feet. Drew the foul, bench can't believe it. He came flying off of there with that whistle. Autry hacked, and for Autry, that is his 5th foul. And remember, Adams already is out of the game.
All right, here's the play again. The ball will go into Cowens from Nelson. Now watch him make his move to the middle. There he makes the move. He'll give a big fake. Autry jumps on him, goes by him. Autry claims that he did not hit him. Official said he got the foul and caught him on the elbow as Dave Cowens would go to the free throw line.
Westphal going back toward the sideline. Cowens has tied it at 106. 2:27 on the clock. Cowens has put the Celtics ahead by a point on those 2 free throws. Clock moves down to the 2:20 mark. Sobers and Van Arsdale in McLeod's backcourt, and Van Arsdale wants to go down in with Havlicek. Havlicek was there with his foot along the side.
John almost made a super big play for the Boston Celtics, but when you lift that foot up, that is kicking the basketball. It must be unintentional.
Sobers trying to put Phoenix ahead. Cannot, and Cowan skies for the rebound. Inside of 2 minutes here in the second overtime. It is Boston 107, Phoenix 106. JoJo White against the shot clock, forced one up. And inside Gar Hurd, and John McLeod is going to use one of his 2 timeouts. He trails by a point. He's got 1 minute and 33 seconds up on that clock.
Well, there's plenty of time to go in this basketball game. John McLeod trying to map out the strategy, take advantage of calling that timeout in this crucial situation. The Suns usually have responded quite well when John McLeod has called those timeouts.
Back in the Boston Garden with 1:33 left in this second overtime. The foul situation. Adams already out. Scott already out. Cowens, Autry, and Silas. 5 fouls apiece. Take a look at this last play, Rick.
Let's watch the last play here as JoJo White's going to come off for Paul Silas. He'll get the ball, go over to the left side. The 24-second clock ticks down. There he goes. He makes a fake, jumps back. Little contact on the play. I don't know. It may have been the situation where the official thought he was trying to force
Looked to me
a
that
foul.
Curtis Perry might have fouled him just a little bit enough to throw the ball off, which is all you need on a shooter from this guy like JoJo.
Exactly. There was some contact there.
Phoenix trailing by a point. Perry took the pass from Sobers, and here's Autry with the shot clock going inside of 10 seconds. Sobers from deep in the left corner misses. Silas with another big rebound. Celtics with a long pass to JoJo White. Couldn't control it in time to cut to the hoop for an easy layup. They set up their offense, 1:05. Cowens went right straight up in the air. No basket, says Richie Powers. Offensive foul on David Cowens, his 6th foul.
Tommy Heinsohn went all the way off the court on that call.
Dave Cowens went high in the air and fouled out of this basketball game on a play that could have turned Game 5 in Phoenix's favor.
There we go. Let's take a look at it. There's the ball from JoJo going into Dave. Watch him get the ball, be triple teamed right here. Now let's watch the move. Autry still stationary, moves over.
It was there, Rick. It was there.
We've got another angle on it. Let's watch the angle. Let's see if Autry's moving on the contact. He's there. Dave jumps, makes the contact. Richie Powers calls the offensive foul.
Wow, it was absolutely there.
What a turnaround that is. Instead of 109-106, it's 107-106 toward 50 seconds. Suns with possession, trailing by a point. Cowens and Adams have fouled out. We're in the second overtime of the Boston Garden. Havlicek went down, trying to draw the foul from Autry. Heinsohn furious, Hurd in the air, loose ball. Autry was backing into his man. He's going to commit his 6th foul. Autry's out of the game. He was backing in for rebounding position.
Bianchi and McLeod weren't happy with that call, but Dennis Autry had set some screen on John Havlicek just prior to picking up that other rebounding foul. And the emotion is really high here at Boston Garden. Let's take a look at the play again. Now watch the screen coming up by Autry on Havlicek. He stands right there. That looked like a pretty good screen. Havlicek just ran into the stationary man. But now Dennis Autry is going to be backing out on the shot. Well, we didn't run it far enough, but there's no question.
Here come the Celtics, and McLeod extremely upset right now. 107-106 in 30 seconds. Celtics ahead by a point in this second overtime. JoJo White on the drive, put it down at 3 points at 19. Phoenix will have to call a timeout. This will be their second timeout, their final one here in the second overtime. 109-106. Autry is still complaining.
Well, JoJo
JoJo White has been the big offensive man here in the second overtime for the Boston Celtics. Paul Silas has been a terror on the boards for him, and the old veterans coming through. Here's the play again. The side's cleared out. Gar Hurd comes over, makes a great effort to try and block it, and JoJo just simply put it out over the outstretched arms of Gar Hurd. Soft touch. The ball drops through. 3-point lead for the Boston Celtics here in double overtime.
Ball is over on this side. Garfield Hurd reminded the referee. Crowd chanting defense. Lumpkin, Westfall, and Van Arsdale on the floor. Van Arsdale with a quick shot. It's a one-point game again. Just what Rick predicted. Westfall to the corner. Back to Van Arsdale. Perry in the air. Won't go. Havlicek. Perry again. Perry with a jump shot. Put it down. Phoenix has gone ahead. We've got 5 seconds. I don't believe it. I don't believe what I just saw down here. 110 to 109. I got 5 seconds. That was incredible. Where did Westfall come from?
Here we go,
Where did he come from?
Let's take it. Unbelievable what Paul Westfall does here. Here's the passing coming out of Van Arsdale. He gets the ball. They don't elect to go inside. Now he makes a quick fake to the left. Silas is on him. No foul. They don't want to get it. The shot goes up, and it's in. Now the Celtics try and get it in quickly. Jim Art throws it over. Look at Paul Silas. Great anticipation, by Westfall. Throws it back in. Van Arsdale. Perry misses. He's going to go hustle after it. He gets it back off of John Havlicek's hand. Still plenty of time to go. Pump fake, and the biggest basket of Curtis Perry's career right there.
An incredible turnaround here in the second overtime. Boston has 5 seconds left to make up that point.
Here's another angle on it. Look, there was Paul Westfall sneaking over, knocking out of Havlicek's hand. The shot by Perry again, no good. Off of John Havlicek, a tough break for the Celtics. The pump fake, John's up. Now a difficult shot from deep in the corner, nothing but net for Curtis Perry. The Celtics now facing the situation where they have 5 seconds to try to win this basketball game.
So here they come. Nelson, Silas, Havlicek, Ard, and JoJo White against Westfall, Sobers, Van Arsdale, Perry, and Hurd. The final 5 seconds. Everybody on their feet here in the Boston Garden.
And everybody will be looking for JoJo White. You can bet on that. Let's see if they try and pull a little switch here and maybe go with Havlicek. But the only 2 good shooters right now, because Nelson's taking out of bounds, are White and Havlicek.
Cowens, remember, is fouled out. So is Scott. Here come the Celtics. Clock will start when it's touched. Havlicek touches it. It begins. 3 seconds. Hondo off the glass. He's got it with a second. John Havlicek won it. It's over.
No, there's 2 seconds to go.
The Boston Celtics, but the clock should have run out, or did it have to?
There are 2
Everybody's on
seconds
the
to go in
floor.
this basketball game, Brent. The ball went in with 2 seconds to go, and the clock has to stop on a made basket. The Phoenix Suns will get the ball with 2 seconds to go. This game is not over.
Richie Powers is in a fight with a fan right here in front. Referee Richie Powers was assaulted by a fan. They've pulled the bore off. They're the cops out in the middle. They got fans out in the middle of the floor. The Phoenix Suns trying to get it cleared to get the 2 seconds off. Here's Richie Powers now. Don Murphy is over there with him. We've got 2 seconds. You're right, Rick. Murphy just told me. Murphy has verified what you said. 2 seconds left. 2 seconds left in the game. They've got to clear the floor. They've got to bring the Phoenix Suns back. It's not over yet. We've got 2 seconds left in this game.
Here goes
now
John Havlicek. He's driving. He goes right up.
Out.
Makes an almost impossible shot as he almost hits the floor. Banks it in. 2 seconds to go. The ball had gone through. The clock ticked down to 1, but there was 2 seconds when the ball was in the basket.
111, 110. Double overtime. It's going to take us a while to get this floor cleared off. Murphy told me there were 2 seconds. Believe me, we've got 2 seconds left in this basketball game, and Tommy Heinsohn is back. They know it right now. Everybody's aware. The players have been told, but the fans aren't aware in the Boston Garden. They've got to get the fans off the floor. He's got to get off the floor, play the 2 seconds.
John Havlicek making a super play for the Boston Celtics, hitting an extremely difficult shot. The Phoenix Suns not, of course, wanting to pick up a foul. They would have been in the bonus situation, so they had to pull back off. John made it, and then all heck broke loose. There was bedlam out there on the floor. The fans ran out, and in their anxiety to congratulate the Celtics because they thought the game was over, someone attacked Richie Powers, but we've gotten order restored.
Rick and Brent, you can't say too much about these officials. They have worked one Super Bowl game. And a fan attacking official, to me, is just unheard of. I don't buy that at all.
Shouldn't attack anything.
No, I mean, it doesn't go to seconds, Rick. One.
Now let's see, have they adjusted? 1 second, I believe, is the adjustment. Murphy had said 2. They talked it over. Richie is over, explaining it to John McLeod.
Mindy, what is the rule on that? Is it when the ball goes in the basket or after it comes through and clears?
As soon as the ball goes in the basket for an obvious score, Rick, the clock is supposed to stop. It looked to me as if there was 2 seconds. Now what I see happening over there is the officials have checked with Bobby Rakel, who is the third official. He called 1.
Now Tommy Heinsohn wants to know where the ball is going to be put in play. Now it was after a basket, so it should be put in play underneath the hoop. Do they have a timeout left, or have they used both of them? Westfall out there, pleading the Phoenix case with Powers.
They're going to call a timeout now. If they have a timeout left, they will call it.
Do they have one left, Mindy, or have they used both of them?
Not have any timeouts left. I would not be surprised now if they will call an extra timeout to gain the distance and have a technical foul assessed.
Let them shoot it.
Can't possibly score from down there.
That's exactly what they've done, Mindy. They have called a timeout. Technical foul. The only chance they have is to get it at half court. And this way they have a chance to at least tie the game and send it into a third overtime.
Right, Rick. They could never score from 94 feet. They may from half court.
111, 110. JoJo White can make it a 2-point basketball game. He does. Now the final second of play here in the Boston Garden. Phoenix will get some court position. They're huddling around Tommy Heinsohn. What about the foul they've got to give right now, Mindy?
They can give a foul. I don't think they will, Brent, because with 1 second to play, awfully difficult to get a good shot off. That clock will start as soon as it's inbounded and touches somebody.
There's Heinsohn directing the Celtics. Suns are over huddling with John McLeod. This has been one of the more incredible evenings in the history of championship play in the NBA. Leading by 22 points, the Boston Celtics found themselves tied once and then twice. And now we come to the end of the second overtime with a couple of the most incredible turnarounds I have ever seen. It is John Havlicek who put the Celtics ahead. Then the Suns took the technical to get court position. Curtis Perry wanted somebody to stand back. Won't start until it's touched. They'll have to throw it up. Garherd, turnaround, shot in the air. It's good. It's tied again. I don't believe it. Garfield Hurd at the buzzer. Threw one in outside. We've got a third overtime in a Boston Garden. It's 112, 112. Unbelievable sequence. First it was Havlicek. Then it was Garfield Hurd. All tied at 112.
Here's the play again. 1 second to go. Curtis Perry going to look for Hurd. There's the toss in. Hurd gets the ball, turns. The clock still no zero. It's off his hand. It went to zero. Good call. Nothing in the basket. Ties it up.
We've had 3 centers foul out of this game. 2 for the Suns, 1 for the Celtics. Dave Cowens, Alvin Adams, and Dennis Autry are out. Coaches and trainers and some of the players now are looking for some of the debris that was thrown out on the floor. Richie Powers, a referee, was assaulted, received help immediately from the Boston police. And I want to say something about the referees that worked this game. I think it has been worked extremely well from beginning to end by Murphy and Powers, and don't forget, they've had to go the distance too. And they don't get any breathers over on that bench. And now we come to the third overtime of by far the most incredible basketball game I've ever witnessed.
The only 2 men in foul trouble at this stage. Once again, Paul Silas still playing with 5 fouls. Paul Westphal
with 4 fouls for Phoenix.
And Westfall has control. Let's set the lineups. Westfall, Sobers, Van Arsdale, Perry, and Hurd. Up against Havlicek, White, Ard, Nelson, and Silas. Silas has gone a long time with 5 fouls. Now it's Curtis Perry out over the left side, giving it up to Van Arsdale, who wheels around him. He has turned the ball over.
Rick Van Arsdale still having difficulty handling the ball with his left hand. He's still playing with a protective cast on that wrist.
Can you imagine how many folks in Phoenix are watching this basketball game right now? It's been a very bad evening for the saloon business. Everybody's watching. Tied at 112. We got 4:31. We'll be in Phoenix Sunday for Game 6. Don't miss it. We got more action coming up. What an end to this season has been on CBS. Nelson outside. And Havlicek got inside with position. And finally there was contact in there.
They called a jump ball. Don Murphy saying that Curtis Perry had his hand on the ball as John tried to go back up. You see Tommy Heinsohn, he's not too happy with the call. There's the play. The shot goes up. Look at Havlicek in inside position. He's got it. He starts to go back up after the bounce. Perry was on the ball, he claimed.
Off of Hurd's hands, and Jimmy Ard wisely lets it go out of bounds. He saw who had touched it last.
The Suns are playing without a center. Both Autry and Adams have fouled out.
And so it is Curtis Perry who is taking Jimmy Ard. Dave Cowens, of course, also has fouled out for Tommy Heinsohn. If you're looking for the Late Late Show, hold on, folks. Nelson, using the glass, puts Boston up by 2. 3:57. Sobers calling the play for the Suns. Here's Curtis Perry inside, pass to Ricky Sobers, who went in and tied it up at 1:14 with 3:44 to go. And this is the 3rd overtime of Game 5.
Big difference. The Suns scored inside. The Celtics had to score outside.
JoJo White gave it up to Ard. Shot clock down toward 5. Havlicek fires in and out, and at the board was Garfield Hurd, and there was contact underneath.
And that's going to be
Paul Silas has fouled out. Paul Silas is going to join Dave Cowens and Charlie Scott on the bench, and John McLeod and Al Bianchi are up. Just reminding the scoring table that Paul had been playing with those 5 fouls. I'll tell you, he deserves a great round of applause. That man played a basketball game. I'll tell you, that was something. That was some basketball game. That guy turned in.
Paul Silas was the man that kept him in there. He came off the bench when they needed him, and he got all those big boards, both offensively and defensively. He was a mighty big factor, and he is going to be missed. And now the Suns have to try to capitalize on it.
A lot of fans are wondering, there was a championship game that went 4 overtimes. Boston and Syracuse back in the 50s. Perry outside, and the Phoenix Suns go up 116-114. Now the Celtics are going to have to work hard. They don't have Cowens, they don't have Silas. They got Glenn McDonald, and JoJo to the basket, put it down, tied it at 116. 3 minutes to go. Cowens watching from the bench, played an incredible game until he finally fouled out. He left in the 2nd overtime. Here's Garfield Hurd. JoJo White passed him and put it down, and the Suns lead it by 2.
I have seen more defensive men leave their feet in this game than I've seen in any of the other games in the series thus far. A lot of paratroopers out there this evening.
Here's John Havlicek. And Garfield Hurd was there on the interception. I couldn't pick a great player out of this series. It seems that there have been so many from Game 1 now through Game 5 in the 3rd overtime.
Phoenix Suns have a golden opportunity here to get a commanding lead.
They're up by 2 right now. They can make it 4, and they turn it over.
Boy, did they miss that. Curtis Perry did not see Garherd. 2 men jumped outside the Sobers. He had a layup.
2-5, JoJo for the tie.
JoJo White has been unbelievable in this ballgame.
He has carried the offensive burden.
31 points for White. Van Arsdale with control. Here's Curtis Perry. Perry battling for the loose ball. It's going to be a jump ball. Jimmy Ard got down there battling.
Curtis Perry was a little upset because of the pushing that was being done against him defensively, and he tried to force the play right there and wound up with a jump ball situation, and he got a good jumper in Jim Ard.
Tied at 118. Celtics were going for position, and Jimmy Ard says, hold on, Hondo. Wait till you get set. JoJo tipped it back to Nelson, quickly to Havlicek. Off to JoJo White on the penetration to McDonald, and a beautiful pass. John Havlicek taking a drink from Frankie Shallant. Timeout. Celtics with both in this third overtime, and Phoenix with one.
In all due respect to Curtis Perry, Rick, I don't think he saw Gar hurt because there were 2 or 3 people within his eyesight, and to pick up that kind of a play is awfully tough sometimes.
122 to 118. And here in the Boston Garden, there are 12 flags representing 12 different championships. And in this series, they're going for their 13th in the last 20 years.
The Phoenix Suns came back in the last overtime in situations just like this with a little over a minute to go. If they come down, score a basket, they still have plenty of time to be able to come back and get another one. The Celtics then would be forced into a situation where they must go down and score. So let's see if the Phoenix Suns can rise to the occasion one more time, or if the Celtic defense will rise to the occasion.
Glenn McDonald will pick up Dick Van Arsdale. JoJo White has Ricky Sobers. John Havlicek has Paul Westphal. Don Nelson has Curtis Perry, and Jimmy Yard has Gar Hurd right now. It's Tommy Heinz's defense. Westphal, turnaround, win air, 122, 120. Would you believe it? I don't believe the shots that have gone into this basketball game.
You're seeing them, but they're still hard to believe.
59 seconds. Hondo off to JoJo. Left side, down, 4 again. What's that? 33 for JoJo. Now it's 4 points in 54 seconds, 124 to 120.
They still have plenty of time if they can score a basket here.
Here's Dick Van Arsdale up in the air. Battle Glenn McDonald. He's had a big rebound knocked away from him and out of bounds.
Foul, Brent, foul.
It was a foul on the play. Glenn McDonald had control, and I'll tell you, he's come off the bench and played himself a basketball game.
JoJo White is so tired. He is backcourt at the 3-quarter line, near half court, sitting down. He is, look at him sitting there. He is so tired. He has played some basketball game, and he's trying to catch a blow right here.
33 points for that man.
And White has scored 15 points in the last 3 overtimes. There's the shot by Van Arsdale. It goes off the board. McDonald up high to snatch the rebound. He'll put it on the floor. Perry will reach in. Right there, they call a foul. And it's a 2-shot foul in the backcourt.
It is an absolute pity that either of these teams has to lose this game. It has been that kind of contest. The Celtics are in command, 126 to 120. Glenn McDonald, 2 big baskets, a pair of free throws, a rebound, came off the bench. He has been a disappointment to the Celtics this year, but here when they most needed it, with guys fouling out, Silas and Cowens out of the game, it was Glenn McDonald, a second-year pro from Long Beach State, who came in and ignited them. We got 36 seconds to go. It's 126-120. Back in the Boston Garden. Al Bianchi with a few final words of advice. Boston breaks Tommy Heinsohn's huddle. Glenn McDonald, 6 points here in the third overtime. And Rick Barry, just as you predicted to me, it has been that unknown player who came off the bench and turned out to be the star here finally.
Well, Brent, I tell you, so many strange things have happened. I wouldn't consider this game over yet. Too many crazy things have taken place. The Suns are liable to get in here, score a quick basket. They made a steal the last time. Let's see what happens. Certainly, the Celtics should be able to control it. If they can't control it from here, they've got some real problems.
The crowd already thought it was over once. Here's Ricky Sobers now, trailing by 6 inside, make it 4 now. It's 126-122. Westphal directs the defense, pressure coming. Celtics working against it, and Nelson called the timeout wisely when he was pressured. Now, Mendy, when he calls it out down there, what about the rules in the midcourt? Does he get court position, or do they still have to get it back out beyond the end line when they're pressured like that?
After a field goal, Brent, the ball comes to midcourt, and they must pass it into the front court.
Sobers has put down 25. JoJo White, 31 points. Rick and Mendy, we'll just get our bags and head to the airport and get on our way down to Phoenix. No sleep tonight.
That's about the case. It's the situation now, of course, with probably Tommy Heinsohn's going to tell the fellas, hold that ball for 24 seconds. If anybody shoots it, I'll liable to come out there and get you.
33 seconds to play. And it's nice to see you back here. A couple of policemen from Boston. We're fine. These people are nice folks. We're all right. Don't worry about us. I have some passionate fans here in Boston. I think they thought that maybe Rick and Mendy had favored the Phoenix Suns a little bit for 2 games, but not so, folks. And I think now everybody in Boston believes it. These Phoenix Suns can play basketball. 33 seconds to go. It's 126 to 122. Perry over now at the midcourt line, as Mindy told you. JoJo White wants to listen. Now he wants to point something out.
Phoenix has no timeouts left, which could be a very important factor in this ball game right now. No timeouts for Phoenix.
Yes, they need to be aggressive defensively. They're also in a bonus situation. They have to hope to come up with a steal without fouling, get a quick basket down there, and perhaps steal it again in the backcourt. That's about the only hope that they have.
Inbounds pass to Havlicek. And there was a whistle away from that throw.
And the strategy by John McLeod was to commit a foul the moment you couldn't get the steal on the inbounds pass. They're taking a gamble that Jim Ard, who is not the best free throw shooter, will miss his opportunities at the foul line, enabling the Suns to get possession of the ball without using up too much time on the clock.
How many folks do you think have left the Boston Garden? 1, 2?
Only those that were called out in emergency.
It is still jammed to the rafters.
Murphy wanted to double check to make sure they were in the penalty situation. He wanted to be certain there were no mistakes made.
It's 127, 122.
That's got one door on that barn closed where the Boston Celtics have stored all that hay for this game, Brent. This could put the nail in it.
There it is, 128, 122. 6 points, 29 seconds. I think Phoenix is about run out of miracles, and just when I say that, somebody throws up an unbelievable shot.
Paul Westphal with an incredible shot.
25 seconds.
A little bit too late, though, I think, Brent.
Look at the fans around the Boston Garden. They thought it was over a long time ago. That's 23 points for Paul Westphal. Clock down to 21 seconds. It's a 4-point lead, and McDonald lost it. 17 seconds. Sobers has got Westphal open. It's 2 points again, and 12 seconds. Here is Glenn McDonald. 2-point basketball game. Nelson gives it to Ard. Westfall's got a hand on it. Ard goes back. 5 seconds. White, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's going to be all over. And look at the fans here in the Boston Garden. They battled 3 overtimes. And finally it's over. But would you believe the end of that third overtime? It was 128, 122, and still the Phoenix Suns got down with a couple of baskets. Fans swarming all over the floor here, chanting, "We're number one." But I want to tell you, Phoenix made them work for it tonight. And we got more of the same coming up on CBS Sunday afternoon when we go down for the 6th game of this series, 3:30 p.m. And this is Brent Musburger for Mindy Rudolph, Rick Barry, and Sonny Hill saying goodbye from the Boston Garden, where you have just watched the most incredible game in the history of the NBA. Boston 128, Phoenix 126, triple overtime.